So this is Scott Seaton, music director of the North State Symphony, and this is our, I believe, fifth edition of a series we call Musician Accents, where gives us an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the members of the North State Symphony. And today, I'm fortunate to be chatting with our principal trumpet player, Ian Cochran. Ian, how you doing?
Doing great, Scott. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. And we were just chatting a second ago, and I just realized that our first concert together was my first concert as music director, which I think I had forgotten. But so we started at the symphony at the same time, which is pretty great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I thought about that when I was watching the Beethoven 5 watch party 2 weeks ago, and I was thinking about how I didn't realize it was your first concert until you mentioned getting ready for that broadcast that it was your first concert. And I was like, no way, that was my first concert. And it felt really special for me, obviously, just being a new member of the orchestra. But knowing that's your first concert too, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was certainly a fun performance, and it's always fun doing because I know we did the premiere by Michael Slayton and how it seamlessly blended into the Fifth Symphony. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But let's backtrack a little bit. How, obviously we're in extraordinary times, and how have you been holding up through all of this?
The answer is I'm very thankful that I have a dog, the best dog in the world. We get to spend a lot more time together, so she's thrilled that I'm at home with her a lot more. I've had time to either take time off or play as much trumpet as I want, or just kind of relax for a change because I know a lot of freelance musicians and music teachers and instructors like myself, we're so used to the grind being just pretty fast and furious all the time that having the moments that this has afforded us to schedule our time has been a positive, but obviously our minds are never too far away from the people who are struggling. So it's a mixed bag of emotions, but trying to stay positive and keep things on the bright side.
That's pretty much all we can do. Yeah, I mean, every single day I feel like I have these deep moments of reflection and appreciation for all the times that we are able to get together and make music and create something that's obviously larger than any one of us as individual musicians. And I very much look forward to the next time we all get to do that. Um, well, I'm glad you're holding up, and I'm glad it's at least giving us opportunities to it's sort of like a cleansing, I think, is what all of this is. And hopefully, all of us can stay safe and healthy throughout this madness that's going on. Let's back up a little bit. So we've already established that you've been with the symphony now. You're going into your sixth season, just as I am. But let's go back even further and let's talk a little bit about how you got started in music, and also how you came to pick up the trumpet as your main instrument. And was it your first instrument?
Sure. My very earliest memory I can come back to in my entire life is being put down for a nap and hearing Beethoven piano sonatas played and not knowing what they were, but just remembering the sound of that music. And then years later, hearing it, remembering what I was hearing as a baby, and then knowing it was Beethoven. Something magical about music my whole life. I just knew that I loved it. And then when I was 7, I had an amazing opportunity to go to Europe on a little trip to Italy and Austria. And I went to Mozart's house. I saw some manuscripts. I saw his first violin, his little quarter-sized violin on the wall, and that
Oh,
left a
wow.
huge impression on me. I went back and wanted to take violin lessons with my best friend, Clayton Sanders, and played violin for a while and just wasn't great at it, and knew that it was going to be a long uphill battle for the violin. And then eventually got into my grandfather's old big band jazz records, heard the trumpet section, and it was game over for me. I knew after that I just loved the trumpet. There was something special about it, really spoke to me, and started taking trumpet lessons and then steered toward a path in music for college. And the rest is kind of history, as I say. But I've always loved it, and it didn't matter to me if it was playing with chopsticks on the table or if it was trumpet with an orchestra. It had to be part of my life. So.
Right, exactly. I know the feeling. Do you Do you think there is a defining moment in your life or one experience that sort of solidified this career path for you?
I mean, I think as it is with probably most people, it's a confluence of things. It's a perfect storm of many things. But if there's one kind of image that could crystallize why I do this, the first thing that comes to mind is great teachers I've had. Because if you don't have the people that invest in you and just provide the opportunities and the ability to understand why it's important to you personally, getting there can be tough, and none of us get there alone. So my first trumpet teacher was second trumpet in the Charlotte Symphony. He was a Cleveland native growing up, loved going to the Cleveland Orchestra. He became first trumpet in the Charlotte Symphony, and then there was an opening for his teacher's job in fourth trumpet in the Cleveland Orchestra, and he actually went and won that job.
Wow.
And he's playing that position today. His name's Michael Miller. He is the absolute dream come true fairy tale story of trumpet playing, in my opinion, because he's an incredibly hard worker, an incredibly great musician, and just one of the sweetest people you'll ever know. I hope that a lot of him rubbed off on me growing up. And without his teaching, I mean, and his story of just, the trajectory of his career, it really represents to me what's possible and how awesome this journey is for everybody. So, yeah, he's probably the guy that stands out to me as helping me get to where I am as much or more than anybody else. Yeah.
Oh. And sorry, you said he's where now?
So he's in the Cleveland Orchestra playing
Okay.
Fourth trumpet now, and that was the job his teacher had before him.
Wow. And how long has he been with the Cleveland Orchestra?
He began that position. It would have been back around, I want to say 2007 or 8.
Okay. So I'm sure I've seen him perform
he's
many
been there
times.
for over 10 years.
Wow. Okay. Great. Yeah, I lived in the Cleveland area in 2009 to 11-ish, so I was able to get out to Severance many times, and what an experience that is to hear that orchestra in that hall. I mean, it's just one of the best acoustic spaces I can think of. Do you, obviously as a professional musician, we all put in, tons of hours of practice, and over the years we're able to have our likes and dislikes in terms of what we like to play, and eventually that influence what we like to listen to, and vice versa. Along the way, have you acquired any favorite composers, and who might these people be and why?
That's a great question, and ultimately that's just such a tough answer, but the thing is, the school that my teacher Michael Miller went to was called Baldwin Wallace College Conservatory of Music in the Cleveland area, and I ended up going to that school too for my undergrad. And at that school, they have the Riemann Schneider Bach Institute, and every year they put on the second oldest Bach festival in the country. It's a celebration of all things Bach, and all the harmony classes are taught 8 a.m. freshman year using Bach chorales. So wow. I have just learned to love and appreciate the music of Bach as much as any other in my life. And, I love Ray Charles, I love jazz, I love Hank Williams and all these great influences on me.
Oh, yeah.
But you can almost trace back their lineage of Western music and the harmony that we use and all of that to Bach. So without him, I'm not sure where we'd be. But I absolutely adore the music of Bach to this day. It's also infinitely interpretable music. You can listen to any number of incredible interpretations of the exact same piece with Bach because it's just so perfect. But
yeah, I mean, there's something special about Bach, and the fact that maybe so much of it is open to interpretation, the fact that there are so little directions about how the music is supposed to be, unlike composers of the 19th and 20th centuries. Gustav Mahler is probably the complete opposite end of that spectrum, having paragraphs in German about how a note should go. But Bach for me, you mentioned growing up with that, and as a conductor, I came up with the Boyd Riemann Schneider chorales, and part of my early training was just sitting there at the piano, plunking out every single chord with the solfege tagged to it, sol, si, re, fa, re, di, for hours and hours, and just to ingrain these original clefs into my being. So fond memories, just let's say at the very least.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the symphony. And do you've been in with us for 5 seasons now. Do you have a most memorable concert experience with the North State Symphony?
Again, tough to say because there's a lot, but I will say this. We've played some amazing, because as a trumpet player, we love to lead with big German, large orchestra, romantic stuff. We've gotten to play Brahms 2, Brahms 4, Mahler 5, which obviously Mahler 5 was a massive thing for me.
That was a big concert.
Yeah. Experience. Yeah. And so many big German things. But I have to say, the two sides of my North State experience that really stand out to me has been all the amazing Beethoven we've played, and then the pops side as well. And it's really strange that it is those two, but that's how it is for me, because I grew up listening to John Williams soundtracks, and John Williams trumpet playing is just some of the most iconic and favorite of mine to listen to, and to get a chance to sit in the orchestra and play is just awesome. And then the Beethoven, it's just it feels timeless. It feels very human, and it feels like the reason why we love orchestra. I took a class called Beethoven Seminar in grad school, and Gregory Reich, the professor, taught me how to love Beethoven even deeper on a whole nother level. And now I don't listen to it the same way. And just going through the scores and listening, especially when I'm with my colleagues who I love so much in the orchestra, and watching them do what they do. And, we've played Beethoven 5, Beethoven 7, Coriolan Overture, the Beethoven Triple Concerto. All this amazing Beethoven with North State has just been it's built this foundation of experience with me that I associate with the orchestra, and why I love it so much. So yeah, it's Beethoven, and it's the awesome pop stuff that we've gotten to do.
Yeah. And of course, we were supposed to do Beethoven's Ninth a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And I hope we still will. I hope that's on the schedule for the future.
It's on the schedule, definitely. And at first that concert was labeled something like Beethoven 250th, and then because we've gone through reprogramming next season, at least for me, at least 20 times, and Beethoven 9 was supposed to be our opening concert in September, and of course that's not going to happen. It's going to be a much smaller chamber concert, assuming that's even going to happen. Hopefully it will, and that was called, of course, Beethoven Celebration, because it's still the year of the 250th birthday, at least the season of.
Right.
And now, and if hopefully this, people who watch this interview can get a little sneak peek, but now Beethoven 9 is our season finale again next year. And instead of Beethoven Celebration, we're calling it Unstoppable Beethoven, because this is getting ridiculous.
I know. But you know what? That is what's perfect. It's perfect about that piece. I mean, it is the finale of finales, and it'll never not be just the absolute crowning achievement of post-Bach Western music. And to get to do it, especially if you have to put it off, it only makes it better when it's here. So I'm really excited for it whenever we do it. I mean, we might end up doing it in 2025. I don't care. I'm just excited that we're going to.
Yeah, whenever it happens, it's going to be an epic concert, to say the least.
For sure.
One quick thing while it's on my mind, and for everyone watching this, Ian is one of a select group of musicians that is fortunate to have a chair sponsor, and I want to give a shout out to Sam and Sam Hilaire, who are just amazing people, and maybe we can chat. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're such great people, along with all of our chair sponsors, and maybe you can chat about that very briefly, Ian. The special relationship that the North State Symphony has, because we have all these incredible people that host musicians consistently. Not just that, but develop relationships with the chairs that they sponsor, and there's all kinds of these personal touches that not necessarily every other regional orchestra our size has. So maybe any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't have enough time for me to sing the praises of the Hilairs, how much I love them. The truth is, I don't know of many, if any other orchestras that have this relationship between sponsors and players. From the very moment I met them, and they were just thrilled to be a part of it. And I was like, wow, this feels like so special. I'm brand new to the orchestra, like they don't know me, but they were so excited. And turns out we both have a deep, passionate love for Star Wars, and we have strongly held opinions. So we get into these great conversations. We love all things sci-fi and fantasy. They love my dog too. We love good breakfast food and coffee drinks, and we just get carried away with these incredible conversations. We've gone down the rabbit hole with some really deep stuff too, and it just reminds me like this is so special because a lot of times when you go to a major orchestra concert, you open the program in the back and you see hundreds of names of people who sponsor, and it's just, you realize that that's what it takes. But when you get to sit in a chair and do your job and then realize that there's two people out there in the audience that are making this possible, and you know them personally, you spend time with them, they let you stay in their house, and they treat you like family, it is so different from any other orchestra experience I've ever had. And they're special to me because they sponsor my chair, but there are other families that are connected to the orchestra that have gone so far out of their way just to talk, hang out, extend their incredible graciousness and hosting to not just me, but to other people in the orchestra. The Quivy family has been awesome. You know, they've have their own little pub at their house, which they host events and things, and we're always invited. It's just a special time, and I know because there's other people who are hosted, who are sponsored, it's just, I feel good knowing that my colleagues get to have this experience, and all the other players in the orchestra, they get to have this experience. And just really quickly, I want to give a special shout out to the people that sponsor the snack tables at our concerts and at our rehearsals, because we are so spoiled. I played so many regional orchestra gigs, and none of them have the spread of snack tables that we have had every time consistently. So the people in Chico and Reading that feed us at rehearsal, thank you.
Yes, awesome. No, thank you for bringing that up. That's an excellent point. I mean, our auxiliary organizations, our Chico Guild and Reading League are just amazing groups of people, and they do so much not only for our professional musicians, but also deeply devoted to music education and also raising scholarships and awareness to all of our youth in the area. And they just do such great things, and they're such delightful people. So if you're watching this, and you want to become one of these people that have these great relationships with our musicians, please check out our website and look at all the names without sponsorships yet. And please, if you can get involved, please find a way. Ian, do you have anything else you'd like to chat about with us today?
As a matter of fact, I have a surprise for you, Scott. I really did. I'll keep it brief. I had some questions because I love that, part of what makes our orchestra just connect with the audiences is we do these great Ask Me Anythings at the break, and we get a chance to learn about our audience and they get a chance to learn about us. They ask us great questions every concert about what it's like for us to do our job. And a lot of times those questions are funny, or they're serious, or they're motivational. But, I personally haven't gotten to ask any of those. I have typed up a couple of questions that I have for you that probably, or maybe not, are applied to other people. If you're up for it, can I give you a couple of quick lightning round, just gut reaction, first thing that comes to mind, questions for you?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right, here we go. Number one, cake or pie?
That's tough. Probably carrot cake. So cake.
All right, nice. Okay, number two, if you had to write in only one color for the rest of your life, what color would that be?
Blue.
Awesome. What was your first car or the car that you learned to drive on? You can either one, first car or the car that you actually learned how to drive
on. Well, the car that I learned to drive was a family car. It was a 1988 Geo Spectrum. The first car that I officially kind of owned was with one of my ex-girlfriends, and we owned a 2004 Honda Civic, a black Honda Civic
Nice.
LX, I think.
Black, great.
So what else you got, Ian?
What do you have a favorite North State Symphony performance in the last 5 years? This actually, I'm very curious because I know we've had some really good ones, memorable ones. Do you have a favorite performance in the last since you've been here?
That is a great question, and I have several that are like my top echelon of performances, and definitely Beethoven 5. I mean, there was so much energy in that concert. The Beethoven 7 that we just watched, I mean, I think I'm like you. I mean, Beethoven, there's such a special connection with his music. And also, I mean, just because it's so accessible to everyone. I mean, everyone can find something about it that they can get into, some association, it's just so much going on. Of course, Mahler was special. I think easily up there is the Ravel, Daphnis and Chloe that we did.
Yeah.
That's always been one of my favorite pieces, and I remember when I was a bachelor's student in music. One of my favorite recordings was going into our music library at Vanderbilt, and we had a laser disc of Herbert von Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic, a laser disc. Talk about short-lived platforms.
Yeah.
And every time I put on that disc, that recording, always gave me goosebumps. I mean, just the precision of everything, the incredible pacing that Karajan was able to achieve. I mean, everything about that recording was iconic German perfection, but the music was just overwhelming. And now you can find it on places like YouTube and it's so accessible now. But that piece has been with me for a long time, and I wish I could remember the first time I was exposed to it, but it's just been a part of my being for so long. So there's the Ravel. I think this was my first season. We did the Rachmaninoff symphonic dances.
That's right. Amazing.
While also just an incredibly difficult piece. It's so rich and chocolatey and dark in a lot of moments, but also there's these polar opposite parts that are just supremely beautiful. And there's this one part in the second movement, reminds me of what's that movie called? Ocean's 11. There's a scene by the fountains. I know they're playing, I think, like Debussy, Clair de Lune, but it just sounds so Debussy-ish and so just free and like life-affirming, and it's just a great moment for me. But yeah, so those are probably...
Well, actually, that's amazing. I was going to say, the opening of the suite for Daphnis and Chloe has that also just transportive, totally meditative, amazing opening. And both the symphonic dances and the Daphnis, it's such a team play sport. Those, the orchestration is so tall and rich. It's a good opportunity for me to make sure I don't forget. I wanted to give a shout out to the trumpet section and the orchestra because they have, they have played, all of them have played principal on different things at different times, and I've played in the section with them, and it's just this incredible experience to have gained that fun and trust with each other. Ayaka Nakamura especially has she's probably played more notes since I've been there than anybody else, because she's used on every piece somewhere, and her and Breyer and Amy and Roxanne have always done an amazing job. So when we talk about these pieces that we've played in the past, it just all it brings back to me for sure is how awesome the trumpet section has done. And without them, it's like this last section, the whole back row of the orchestra. It's just special. So big shout out to the trumpet section.
No, they're definitely amazing, and just it reminds me of I just can't wait to feel that energy again. I'm also reminded I would love to do at some point. Maybe you've played this before, but of course, Stravinsky's Rite of Spring is probably my all-time favorite piece, and when I came here to the North State, they had just done it in, I think, 2013. So I have to wait a few more years before it's
Right.
far away
Comes
enough.
up again. It's funny you mentioned that. I've been listening to that piece a ton lately. It's just every so often you have to come back to.
Oh,
It's one of these things where if it's like a truly great film or something, it's like you'll always find new things to learn from when you listen to it again. And yeah, I've been following along with the score and just going through the piece, and I mean, there's so much there. You study it your whole life and never get to the end of it. And
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, I got one or two more questions for you here, Scott.
Please.
Okay. Okay. This is an optional question. Best homemade meal you've had since you've been in quarantine, or the thing you're craving the most when you get out of quarantine? What's the meal you want to go get from a particular restaurant, or the one you've had at home that's just been amazing?
I had already been cooking a lot more in the past 2 or 3 years, especially since I met Julia, and we have been making a lot of amazing meals, and we what we're doing now is we have a couple new cookbooks that we have. So our goal is to create one new recipe per week, and just it's hard to isolate one particular dish, but just some amazing. One of my personal favorites is a yellow chicken curry. Just one of my favorites. I think I do miss. There are several restaurants in all of the cities that I'm fortunate to work in the North State, and I always go around looking for the best bolognese. So
Oh wow.
yeah, for example, in Chico, that's Crush for me. There's a lot of others that come close. I still have to find the best place in Reading for a bolognese, but that's definitely on my list of, as soon as I can have that in-person dining experience where I feel comfortable doing so, that's probably one of the first places that I will go is Crush for a bolognese. Just something about it. I mean, speaking in terms of Crush, I mean, they do something very special with these really thick noodles. They have a pesto. I think they put some ricotta on top. It's just this perfect combination of extras that you don't normally see on a dish like that. Anyway.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I always look for good recommendations, and that's making me hungry. I know if you comment on this video, you'll get some comments below with people saying where to go get good bolognese in Reading. So.
Oh, absolutely. Hope so.
Yeah. Last question for you, and this is awesome. I'm so glad you play along to ask some questions. Last question for me, which is best piece of advice that you've ever received. It doesn't have to be the number one that you can, all time, but if something comes to mind, either as a player, as a person, or something that qualifies for both, best advice.
That's great, and I actually have two that immediately came to mind. One is from my very first, one of my first conducting teachers. His name is Robin Fount, and one of the things that he said to me early on, is I was this young conductor trying to, should I do this and try to get this job and apply for this to do this? It's like, Scott, focus on the process, not the result. So, put in the time, practice your instrument, do the clef reading, sit down at the piano with the Bach, do all of this, and the rest will unfold just as you hope it will. And of course he was right, and I think I've been extraordinarily lucky. But that's such, for me, it's a earth-shattering piece of advice. Just focus on the process, and the result will happen the way you want it to happen. And probably similar to that, when I was a master's student at Boston, one of the classes I took was with Benjamin Zander, one great conductor, but also motivational speaker. I mean, he has brilliant things to say about anything. And one of our assignments one time in this class, is very famous interpretation class that's actually being streamed in a lot of places right now, is one week we had an assignment to choose what's there. That was the whole assignment, to choose what's there. And I think that fits closely into focus on the process, because it really makes you live in the moment and find the absolute best about the moment you're living. Of course, a lot of us are so far ahead and like, how do I get here? That we forget to live now. And I think that's so important. And even as we get busy again and get thrown into the mix of our quasi normal lives, I think it's always important to step back a little bit and just sort of reevaluate things like we're forced to be doing right now. So yes, choose what's there and focus on the process and not the result is probably the two top pieces of advice I could give any person, not just about music, but just living a balanced, healthy life.
Yeah, I know that applies to me. As a trumpet player, you've got to focus on the process, stay in touch with your fundamentals and enjoy it, enjoy doing the scales and the long tones. And the music comes out of that if you keep joy at the center of why you're doing those exercises. But
yeah,
I know that's good advice for all of us in terms of just the situation we're in. It's a little bit day to day, and that just means you can focus on today and find some joy and do things that are going to help you rest easy at the end of the day and be thankful. I think that's an awesome place to be.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for answering my questions. I've always wanted to do that. Thank you.
It was a pleasure, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to chat with me. And I'm sure people will get a lot of pleasure about learning about your background and how you became who you are today. And I emphasize again how much I look forward to playing Beethoven 9 with you and all these other great masterworks, hopefully in the coming seasons. So, continue to stay safe. Hope you, your family and friends are all doing well. And we hope to all get together in person very, very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott. Love talking with you. Same to you. Stay healthy, stay peaceful, and thanks to everybody who supports us as an orchestra, as players, and as an organization. We love you and couldn't do this without you. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you all to our patrons and our wonderful sponsors, and especially our tier sponsors, as we talked about. Everyone, we can't wait to get the entire community back together and in the hall living these and that's the concert hall experience. That's the true living in the moment experience. You're re-experiencing, you're experiencing this work of art that only exists for 1.5 to 2 hours, and then it's only a thought for a while until we can bring it to life again. So can't wait for that to happen again. Well, thank you so much, Ian, and thank you everyone who watched this and participated in this conversation with us, and we hope to see everyone soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.